Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me, Jordan Shannon. I'm joined by Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai?
Bit sore, a bit tired, but not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. Long 4 days.
Very long 4 days. You thank God for his intervention with smoke and rain.
Well, as always, we're going to be naming your team of the week. Some competitive games over the past 4 days and some interesting results. So we'll get straight stuck into it. You've opened the batting with Johan Jeremiah.
Yep. Maiden first class century.
Yep.
He's been having a good season as well. So I think it's sort of a nice way to, obviously not cap off the season because there's still another game to go. But I think it's a nice touch for him personally to get past that landmark.
Yeah, definitely. And then partnering him, you've gone with Shane Mosley.
Yep, someone that has been out of regional cricket for a few years, actually. He wasn't doing too badly for Barbados when he got dropped. It was a bit puzzling to most in and around that setup.
Right, okay.
As to why he got dropped. But again, that's sort of, I guess, the Craig Brathwaite way for you, regional and international level. So I guess, someone coming back in, first match back in and scoring a century after the team was put under pressure to score 300 in a chase for a victory, and setting up the foundation for the team to go on to be able to win that game. I think shows not only his ability, but his fighting power, his will, and his want to just continue to do well for himself and for his country. So very happy to see guys like that get another opportunity and grab it with both hands.
Yeah, definitely. And, he spent a summer in the UK as well, and he's coming back into the Northwest to play in the Bolton League, I believe, this coming summer. In that, he said when people go and keep working hard, you want to see them succeed and stuff. So I was chuffed a bit to see him get that century. At number 3, you've gone with Kevlin Anderson.
Yep, I think about Kevlin Anderson. Third century for the season, and that's after being left not out on 77 in the first innings. Just continues to improve, this young guy, and his ability to make runs, like he just understands. So I guess it's not pretty to some people because he's more of a leg side player than an offside player, but I'm all about the numbers, and his understanding of batting and his ability to make runs is second to none. And so I just want to continue to see him putting up numbers, doing well for himself, driving Guyana cricket forward, and I'm pretty sure that the Guyana team and all the people of Guyana will be very happy with his performances, and I'm pretty sure, hopefully not into the too far distant future, that'll be the same for the West Indies fans as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you off the back of that, do you think he's a shoe-in for that A-team selection, or do you think he's more pushing at the door in terms of the full selection ahead of the Australia series?
I think you'd have been a shoe-in for the A-team selection regardless, but I think it's starting to be a very serious conversation about, okay, we're going to have to select this young man for the Test team as well. It'd be interesting to see how he finishes the season, because if he gets another century, then how can you deny someone that would have had 6 centuries in 21 first-class games, So it'd be interesting to see if he can go and get another century, especially given that it's ultimately a championship match between Guyana and Trinidad.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we'll see how that goes next week. At number 4, you've gone with Sunil Ambris.
Yep, very good friend of mine. So happy that he's scored a century. He hasn't done so for a while, and it's something that he's been wanting to do, to sort of rectify, obviously having scored lots of half centuries over the years. So I'm very pleased and very happy for him. I hope that this is the start of, further centuries flowing from his end. I think that he's probably someone that sort of gets a rough run in terms of non-selection in the region. He's pretty much a quiet, consistent performer, but no one ever really talks about him. But I think that looking at his ODI numbers, for example, I think he averages 38, but can't get into an ODI side, never gets mentioned or anything. And is always pretty much a consistent performer across red ball and white ball cricket in the region. So very happy for him, especially the situation of that match, how that match is panned out. So very good innings from Sunil. And as I said, I hope that he can not only finish the season strongly, but continue to score centuries going forward.
Yeah, no, there are some really good points. And like I said, it's good to see him get that century. At number 5, you've gone with Javel Glenn. I hope I pronounced his first name correctly as well.
Yes. That's an interesting one because if I cast my mind's eye back not too far ago, you speak a few years ago, I'm pretty sure I can remember that Javel Glenn was a leg spinner. So now to see him having scored his first List A century in the Super 50 just concluded in the semi-finals against the Leeward Islands, and then to come now and score his maiden first-class century and it be 140 not out shows the transformation of his game, and obviously the time and dedication he must be putting into his game to be able to not only deserve or get selected into the Jamaica team as a batter, but to be rewarding the faith in the selectors by coming out and performing like this is pretty good to see. And I'm always happy to see, as I said, guys like this taking these sorts of opportunities and putting up these kinds of performances.
Yeah, definitely. And really, you look at the state, it's a big win that for Jamaica. And the fact that, it really influenced the game as well is what we spoke about in previous podcasts as well. So, it was great. That was really good to see. At number 6, you've gone with Tevin Imlach from the same game.
Yeah, Tevin Imlach, third century of the season, like Kevlin Anderson. He's now gone up to third on the run scoring charts for the season. And I think that he's been having a pretty solid season. Obviously made his debut in Pakistan. It's a bit tough to have judged anyone on their debut in Pakistan, but I find most interesting and I guess appealing about the Tevin Imlach situation is that he wants to put himself across as a proper batter. Obviously, he's a wicketkeeper as well, but he still bats at number 4 for Guyana. He's not batting at number 6 and number 7. He's taking the opportunity to bat high up in the order and dictate the team's success. Yeah. So I think that's very good from his vantage point, and hopefully this bodes well for the West Indies as well.
Yeah, I just want to say then he wasn't from the same game as the Jamaica Trinidad, as I mentioned there. But what I was going to say as well was that we spoke obviously back last week in terms of the news of the West Indies captaincy changes in various bits, and you mentioned about Shea likely being the Test captain, but also going to be taking the gloves. That is something exactly that you'd want to see. So when there's natural pressure on a place or pressure on a position, to go and just score runs and take the wicket-keeping scenario out of it, that's all you can be asked to do, and he's done that, and I think that's a real credit to him.
Yeah, 100%. I think that he's doing all that he can do to ensure that his name is in and around the pot. Whatever the selectors do, it's solely not up to him because he's given himself the best opportunity. Yeah. And that's all you want to see from players, especially inexperienced players like this. So, kudos to Tevin Imlach, and hopefully, as I said, he continues to perform, because this is not only good for regional cricket, but this is good for West Indies cricket when there's competition like this. I mean, you've got in the top 10 run scorers, I think you've got probably 4 or 5 wicket keepers, because as well as Tevin Imlach and Joshua De Silva doing, you've still got Jamar Hamilton in the runs list. You've still got Joel Andrew up in the runs list. You've still got Carlin Bowen Tuckett up in the runs list. So I think it's a great situation where you've got 5 regional keepers. You've got 2 in one team. Yeah. One keeps in the first innings and one keeps in the second innings. And Carlin Bowen Tuckett's probably going to be added to that mix next season as well. Yeah. And all 3 can play as out-and-out batters or as keepers. So I think that's great that there's such level of competition throughout the region for spots now. It's not a matter of guys resting on their laurels. You have to perform. And even someone like a Joshua De Silva, I think he made 86 in this match in the first innings as well. So, it's driving guys to continue to perform because your competitors are doing so well. I think we're seeing the same thing with the opening batting position spots as well, where you've got Johan Jeremiah, a Damel Evelyn, you've got a Michael Lewis, sorry. You've got Craig Bradfield, and you've got a John Campbell. And so you're trying to fit 5 people into 2 spots, then this type of competition is absolutely exactly what the West Indies need.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of this 11, we can, we'll discuss, some of the big takeaways from the championship so far. Following 7-11, you've gone with Joshua Bishop with his 6 of 78.
I think what I like about Joshua Bishop is the evolution of his game. Obviously, playing for the academy as opposed to getting the opportunity to play for his home country in Barbados. He's really taken the opportunity. We know how good of a bowler he is. He's been showing his quality over the past few seasons now. But when you look at his batting ability, he's now got 2 first-class centuries.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty good fielder as well, who throws with both his left and his right hand. So he's a utility cricketer, and I think that he's someone that's going to play a huge role in the future development of West Indies cricket. I always talk about the likes of a Joel Andrew, a Kevlin Anderson, and a Kevin Wickham from a batting standpoint, but I feel Joshua Bishop from the bowling standpoint, his spin bowling department is going to be as important as those guys that I spoke about in the batting realm as well. So it's good to see that he continues to perform every opportunity he gets. And hopefully this is someone that we should be seeing in and around A-team cricket.
Yeah, I was going to say that,
as a backup for the West Indies pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say then about the West Indies A. The West Indies A selection. I think that seems like it should be selected for that. And then at number 8, I think he follows on from the last round of selection. Actually, Ronaldo, Ali Mohammed with his 5 for 91.
Yep. So he is someone that I'm still trying to get to grips with. Obviously, a new player on the regional circuit. I think this may be second season, but I didn't realize that he had, I guess, that capability or that ability with the bat. I think he's averaging over mid-30s for the season with the bat as well. And this is his third 5-wicket haul. 5-wicket haul on that pitch in sink, it's I think goes a long way, especially as a fast bowler, because it's not a pitch that offers any assistance at all. And so that's where you find more often than not, all games that are played in Sinkets have a high propensity to be a drawn match because there's not much on offer for any of the bowling sides. And even if you bat very badly in one innings, you can always make up and go really big and pull yourself out of a hole, which Guyana did. So for Ronaldo Ali Mohammed to continue with his wicket-taking spree, and not just taking 2s and 3s, but having the ability and the understanding and the know-how of taking 5-wicket hauls is something that we need from our fast bowlers in particular. So very happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you're saying there, 25 wickets at 15 is some going. It's impressive.
Yeah.
It really is. And then following him, you've gone with Raymond Simmons.
Yeah. So I thought left arm seam option. He's been having a pretty good season as well. He's just coming back into the regional fold. I think he had gotten injured for a season or two. But I think that he's an exciting young left arm prospect. For me, probably needs to lose a bit of weight, carrying probably too much weight, but he swings the ball, left arm option, as I said, which is always enticing in any format of the cricket. So we've gone with him this week, and I think that he's had a pretty good game in helping Barbados to be able to overturn what was a tricky situation in that match.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that left arm option as well. I know we spoke about that before in terms of like what people class in terms of from a white ball perspective. They like to have that left arm option. So the fact he's been chipping away at it this season in the 4-day stuff, it could give him an opportunity from a white ball perspective, and that's something that people do like to have is that left arm option. At number 10, you've gone with Javier Spencer.
Yep. This is a young man that I think has got loads of untapped ability. Obviously, he's been in and around the Leeward Islands setup for a number of years now, but hasn't gotten, I guess, a proper run. I guess for varying reasons, because of senior players and just lack of opportunities being available to him. But I think that his potential that could be untapped is quite vast, and I'm just happy to see that getting an opportunity to play, even in, as I said, a place like St. Kitts where there's not much on offer, and for him to be able to get his first 5-wicket haul, and it could have potentially been 6-7. He had a few drop catches after getting to 5, so. Yeah. For him to be able to do that on that pitch, in that situation where I think the Leewards bowled some 170 overs in the second innings. Yes, so for him to be able to just continue to push and plug away with that type of time in the field and be rewarded with 5-wicket haul is quite commendable for a young fast bowler. And I hope that he continues to improve, develop, and obviously get opportunities to do so.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you mentioned there, it was tough going in that second innings. So to stick at it and grind his way to taking 5 wickets, and like you mentioned, there was a couple of drop catches, was very commendable and showed his grit and determination, which is something that you value quite highly.
Indeed.
At number 11, to wrap up the team, you've gone with Keon Gaston with his 6 of 52.
Yes, another exciting young prospect. I think this was his debut first-class match. And getting a 6 against Barbados always helps the cause. Obviously, one of the traditional quote-unquote powerhouses of regional cricket, so performances count more when you have them against certain teams in certain situations. I'm pretty sure he'd have liked for it to be in a winning cause, but nevertheless, for that to be your first-class outing and for you to be able to put up that type of performance merits selection. So I'm very, very pleased with his performance and looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the upcoming round when they travel to Antigua to play the academy.
Yeah, that will be interesting. When I'm just looking at this side now, I think this is comfortably the youngest 11 that we've picked over the past, few weeks. Well, since we started doing this, and I think that this is a real good sign for West Indies cricket. You're talking there about some of the young lads. Which these aren't the first. There is some new names on the 11, but there's also 2 or 3 that have featured consistently over the period of time, and I think it's really promising.
Yes and no. Obviously, you want to see young players doing well because then that will be good for the overall health of your domestic structure.
Yeah.
But I'm one that believes that senior players, it has to be a balance struck between having the right amount of senior players to groom younger players. You never see anyone graduate from secondary school when they're in kindergarten. You have to get that level of experience along the value chain. And so experience counts for a lot in terms of performing at the highest stage. You look at the Australian team, for example. Pretty much everyone is over the age of 30, and that would mean that you would have amassed quite a lot of experience along the way for them to be as consistent as they are across the board. But I definitely do like to see when young players are performing, are pushing senior players to perform, and are pushing senior players to either new heights or out of a team, because then that's when you get teams that go to newer heights as well. So it's only a good thing for West Indies cricket.
With that in mind, what you've mentioned there, obviously about the balance between youth and experience, if we was to go with that, and the openers that we discussed partway through the selection, Where do you see, who would you like to see as the opening pairing going into that first test then against Australia, given, if say for instance this was the last round of fixtures?
I don't think it's that black and white as who do you want to see. I think what I would do is I would pick 4, excluding Craig. I would pick, so that would be the Michael Louis, the John Campbell, the Dama Livlin, the Johan Jeremiah.
Actually 4?
Yeah, I would spread them across the A-team series. So as much as possible, try and balance it in a way where everyone gets at least 1 game. Some guys may get 2. So that you can expose them to a different level of cricket and sort of judge how they perform there, given that everyone is in peak performance at the moment. So it's not an unbalanced situation where you're calling a guy from home, whereas other guys have been playing cricket, so it's an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
And then I will take them into a camp after that A-team series is done. So what I'll do is I'll pick an A-team after the season is finished, and I'll also pick probably a 24, 25-man squad preparatory camp for the Australia series after the season is finished as well, so that we can see how they may come up against each other. Right. And then you sort of start narrowing it down based on performances and, I guess, wants, combinations, etc., to figure out who should be that opening pairing. Who should be backup number 1, backup number 2, and backup number 3.
Right, okay. That seems very obviously logical in terms of the way you've broken that down and explained about that. But hopefully something like that actually happens where you can take a group of 4 and analyse the performances and how they think they'll, because obviously the Dama Levlin and Johan Jeremiah, there's going to have to be quite a lot of analysis in terms of how they could take to Test cricket and stuff like that naturally, and so I'd be intrigued to see how that goes. But I would like to see something like that. And then with that in mind, what about from a bowling perspective? I know last week we did touch on certain preparation taking place. I know you mentioned obviously Kim Roach is over here in the UK playing for Surrey and stuff, but with some of the performances in this championship, what can you see? Would you like to see something similar then from a bowling perspective?
Obviously, it's a holistic thing. It's not just from a batting perspective. Yeah. I pretty much know what bowling attack I would start the series with. As I said, I'm unchanged on that. It would be the Kim Roach, Jaden Sears, Shamar Joseph, Jamal Warwick, and as my main 4. Yeah. But then when we start talking about backup options, I think obviously the first 2 backup seam bowling options would be Anderson Phillip and Alzari Joseph. Yeah. And then you look at the championship performances so far. You've got an Ronaldo Ali Mohammed. You've got Ramon Simmons. You've got Akeem Jordan. You've got other names in and around that pot. So you sort of pick, I guess, maybe anywhere between 8 to 10 fast bowlers that you can have in a camp, along with some spinners that have been performing well, and you sort of start getting a balance to, okay, this is what you're trying to achieve, and these are the players that would be best suited to getting what you want out of it. Yeah.
And then in terms of obviously reviewing the championship so far, what's your thoughts going into the last game, and who do you see coming out on top next week?
So it's a very interesting situation because I think there are many scenarios that could play out now that Trinidad's just lost, because if Trinidad beats Guyana but Barbados beat the Leewards, I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Or if the Leewards beat Barbados, I'm not sure if one of those 2 could usurp the winner if Trinidad wins this game. So I think obviously Guyana again somehow,
well, you keep saying it,
somehow are in pole position to win yet another championship, which is absolutely puzzling to me. But I think right now you have to back Guyana as the experienced team that they are. I think if Trinidad had still had the services of a Jaden Sears and a Anderson Phillip, then I'd be more inclined to think that they'd be able to pose a better threat. I think also since the ball has changed from the Kookaburra back to the Jukes, we haven't seen, I guess, that prolific level of run scoring from Jason Mohammed that we saw in the first three games, which obviously is going to be a hindrance to Trinidad's performances because you'd want your best batter to be able to score, especially in what is ultimately final. You want them to be at their best and be able to contribute at the highest. So I think it's certainly leaning towards Guyana at this point in time, but you never know what can happen over the course of those 4 days.
No, I think what you're saying there before about Guyana though is impressive. I was impressed with their performance against Leeward Islands because when you get bowled out for less than 200 in the first innings, and then, in my opinion, the Leeward Islands missed an opportunity there. When you've got a batter on 70 who gets out, and then you've got Casey Carty got out in 90, Jamal Hamilton again got out late. I think it was 60 or 70. I think it was. That game, sorry, it was 80 to be fair. You should be posting 450, 500 in that situation there, and you put the game to bed. But for them to stick in with the breakthroughs, with the wickets, and then to go and post that second innings total to effectively prevent them from losing the game, that's probably why they're always there or thereabouts, because they have that level of resilience and that consistency when they probably don't know when they're beaten, really.
I think there's a lot of situational awareness that seems to be hampering the performance of the Leeward Islands team over the course of not just this season, but just the past few seasons, where I think that they could have posed better threats of contention for the championship to Guyana, but it's just in various little situations. I can think back to many where, the wrong approach or the wrong decisions were taken. And it's ultimately, cost them as a team and as a franchise for that period of time. I mean, as you said, having bowled out Guyana on what is traditionally and historically a very, very good batting surface. And knowing that Guyana is a team that likes to spend time at the crease, so it was never going to be easy second go around. You needed to maximize your first innings score as much as possible. I just think that 335 was not anywhere near competitive enough, knowing the surface. I mean, they played there earlier in the season against Trinidad, and Trinidad scored 550 something. So that's sort of more in keeping with what you would expect or hope for, to give yourself any possible chance of winning, knowing the state of the pitch and knowing how difficult it would be to, I guess, bowl a team out again. Because having said all that, you put all of that to the side, I still think that the Leeward Islands had a chance to win that game, but the approach was just mind-boggling to me. I mean, if I think they had some 60-odd overs to get 349 runs. If that were a 50-over game, you would have gone at those runs. So what's the difference now when you've got an extra 10 overs in your favor, and then your two opening batters get off to a very slow start, but then you send Joel Andrew at number 3 and Jamal Hamilton at number 4. You've already not given yourself an opportunity to win the game by starting that slowly. You wasted too many overs trying to, I guess, set a foundation. Whereas for me, you should have gone hard at first, and you say, okay, we're going to go hard for 3-4 wickets, and if nothing happens, then we shut up shop, as opposed to shutting up shop and then trying to make a mad dash at the end. That was never going to work. So I think the approach on a whole was flawed from the beginning, and you have to give yourself the best possible chance of winning if you want to win the tournament. And there's no benefit of drawing the match, because then you don't really stand a chance of winning the tournament. So literally, it's better to have lost that match trying to win than draw the match and there'd be no benefit to you.
Yeah. No, and I thought that, well, it's quite funny you should say that, because when I looked at that situation in the game and you thought about this, how they would go about it, and I kept thinking to myself, with the overs and then the total, and obviously with Jimbo batting in that lower order, say for instance they did need something towards the end and they had the idea, the potential to either shut up shot or go for it. There's one person who I'd want batting at that situation if they needed, 7 or 8 and over, for instance.
Exactly. Seven or 8 and over is, you don't even have to hit a boundary.
No.
Because pretty much they're going to have most people back on the boundary anyway. So you're going to get at least a runner ball, and you're going to get a 2 somewhere in there. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. So I was disappointed, because if I were in that dressing room, I don't know what the plan would have been, but I know what my intention would have been personally. So that was a disappointing aspect for me.
And I think that is the perfect way to finish the conversation that we're having today, is because you spoke about this the squad for the West Indies against Australia. And what you're speaking about there is this level of experience versus, inexperience. And from your experience, when you played the volume of games that you've played first class cricket, when you speak about a plan and understanding, that's probably where sides are lacking that experience to be able to go, do you know what? In my opinion, I appreciate what the leadership team are going to be saying, but this is what I would like to do, and this is what I believe would be, most beneficial, because win, lose or draw, we need to be winning this game. So this is the plan, and I think that's, you speak about experience, and that's where it's invaluable. It is. I think next week will be a good one too. Obviously, we'll review the 11 from the next round of fixtures, but I think it'd be great to do a team of the series as well, and look back at some of the notes we made from week 1 when we discussed about what we expect from some of the players versus obviously the standards that we set in terms of the volume of runs and the volumes of wickets, and highlight, see where we're at the end of the West Indies Championship.
Indeed, looking forward to it.
Yeah, perfect. Speak to you soon, Kai. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, John. Bye.